What's going on, guys? My name is Brandon, and today we've got a MIG welding episode we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing some repairs. Actually, it's more like we're going to be doing a redo. Let me bring you in and show it to you. Alright guys, this is what we're working on today, and what this is a frame off a tow behind leaf vac. The person that owns this has a lawn care business, and what this is like a trailer that they pull behind their commercial mower, and it has a motor attached to the front of this, and it sucks up leaves and lawn debris. Well, what the issue is apparently it gets pretty well freighted, and it's been repaired before. So you can see it's got a broken weld there. It's got some issues. It's got some broken and cracked welds there. More here. It's been repaired. Now this is like the top part of it, so like the basket or the big bucket would sit on top, and you can see that weld is completely snapped right through, and yeah, it is just in need of repair. So here's what it looked like, guys, as a completed assembly when he brought it to me like a couple weeks ago. So here you can see what this leaf vac looks like and how it works. So it's a tow behind cart that goes behind his riding mower, and that's the box that I refer to on top. And at the front of this you can see there's a motor there that creates a vacuum that sucks up all the lawn debris and all the leaves and all the clippings, and it goes into that box. Well, it gets pretty heavy, and you can see that black frame. That's what we're going to be making. You can see the rust, you can see how it's all cracked and broken. It's been repaired. It just isn't solid enough to do what he needs to do. So we're going to build a new frame, but we're going to use a thicker wall tubing to make it that much stronger. You can see, guys, this is fairly thin material. That's 14 gauge that's on there, so that's not that thick. We're going to use the same 1-inch outside diameter tube, but we're going to build it in 1/8 inch. Make it a little bit meatier. So from what I understand is that he'll do like a lawn. He'll suck up all the leaves and lawn debris, load it on his trailer, and then go to the next job. Well, as it's going down the road, obviously the vibration is packing all that stuff down, all the material inside that cart, and then he does his next job, and then that fills up a little bit more, but then he goes down the road after he trailers it, and it settles a little more, and he does another job. So there's a lot of weight that's going inside that little cart before he ends up dumping it. So we're going to build it out of a heavier material that is going to just do a better job. It's not going to be so heavy that it's going to make it more difficult to pull, but it's going to be a little bit heavier so that he's not going to have cracked welds. The great part about this project, or the fun part I guess, is that we're going to be able to use our fab table to get everything perfectly square, and then once we get the entire frame built that you can see back there, then we got to go through and do all the precise holes to get everything lined up just right. So it should be really interesting. Let's get going, guys. So one of the first things I got to do is start getting out some of these caps, because I'm going to reuse them. There, you can see. I think I might even have some of these left over from another project. If I do, we'll shoot them in there. It's a little bit quicker than actually welding metal caps, so I kind of tend to do that sometimes when I can. So I ended up salvaging like 3 of them, maybe 2. This one's pretty stove up. We won't use that one, but you know, hey, if we can reuse what we got, we'll reuse it. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll start getting everything cut to length right now, and that is measuring up at 43 and 9/16. So we're going to need one for there, and we'll need another one down there. So let's go cut those. If you guys have one of these Sharpie metal markers, take the cap off the end and slip it over and turn it. It's a built-in pencil sharpener. I only used mine for about 3 years before a viewer said, "Hey, did you know that that's a pencil sharpener?" So yeah, the things you learn. Thanks to YouTube. Nice sharp point. That's a pencil sharpener. No charge for that tip. Look how nice of a crisp line that does, guys. So here I'm using my Evolution Tools metal cutting chop saw. This just makes cutting in the workshop so much easier. Things go so much quicker, and it's just more accurate. And when things are straight and they're accurate and you don't have to go back and try to tune things up, things just go that much quicker. So we just finished building that one and that one. So now we've got 3 verticals that are all identical, and they all fit inside. So the measurement that we need is an inside to inside measurement. And you can see I verified all 3 of them are that way. So that'll be easy. So it's just going to be duplicating 3 of the same, that measurement. Got my tape butted up down there. And come up here, and we've got to be 45 inches long, 3 of them. Now, I know I've probably mentioned this before in other episodes, but I didn't always have nice tools like this. I started out with a hand hacksaw when I started out, and then worked my way up through from a grinder, and then a Sawzall, and it's just kind of been an evolution of things. But the more you do it, the more you kind of need better tools. And kind of I'm at the point now that I kind of need these tools to do the things that I want to do, or at least to be productive. And some of the stuff that I do obviously build on the channel, I actually end up selling. So time is money. So if this is something that you're looking to do, consider upgrading your tools as you go. That's what I've done. So to save a little time, guys, so you're not jumping back and forth, you can measure this all up and actually write your measurements right on the piece that you're duplicating. It'll just save time. Like this one's is 29.5, so all I gotta do is come over, double check it, then I can see when I move on to my next one, this one's 24.25. So as long as my measurements that I write down are perfect here, then it should be when I transfer them over to the saw. Now, some of the problems that you can get is that if you're measuring this here, then you come back to the saw and you're measuring, and then you measure this here, you can kind of get confused. So I prefer, again, like order of operations, to do everything at once. So measure it all out, write all your dimensions down. You don't have to write it on the material, you can write it on a piece of paper. Then make yourself a cut list. Then when you have everything cut, then you can start assembly. Just, for me, I think it just makes it easier. So that's what we got to build now. 29.5, 24.25. So I'm going to go both ways. 29.5, and then go this way for 24.25. Wow, that's leaving me like almost a blade width, guys, of scrap. That's pretty impressive. So check this out, guys. That line right there represents my 29.5. That line right there represents my 24.25 going that way. So this distance in between the two is my waist, but the thickness of the blade on each side is going to totally consume that. So there'll literally be no waste on this piece. That rarely, if ever, happens like that. So that's kind of cool. Now on the back of this, there's a little round dowel that goes all the way across, and I think that might be to strengthen up the back when it's being dumped. And you can see how it's got little short 1-inch like welds all the way down it. So I'm going to beef that up a little bit more than what that is there. I don't think that that's going to interfere with any of the clearances, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, just so that it's going to make it a little bit stronger. And you can see here I've got some of that round dowel, and it's just about the size of my metal marker. I'm not sure what size this is. I'm guessing probably about 1/4 inch, roughly. So yeah, that'll help stiffen that back end up a little bit. Now we also got to concern ourselves with a bunch of holes that are all the way around the perimeter. Now there's a couple ways you could do this. You could do this as like doing one at a time and bringing them over to a drill press. I'm not going to. I'm going to build this entire assembly, and then I'm going to use a mag drill and set it up to drill these so that I know I get perfectly plumb holes. I think it's just going to be easier to do it that way. It's kind of how I want to do it anyways. So now that we've got all our pieces cut, I've got a couple of these laid out on our fabrication table. So this one here is that one, and that one there is representing the bottom leg that's down there. So like I said earlier, this is 1/8 inch material thickness, so we're going to go set up the welder. This is a super easy welder to set up because it's pretty much all automatic. And I'm doing this real time that you can see right here. I'm using solid wire, 30 thousandths diameter. I'm using C25 gas, and we'll toggle the material thickness to 125 thousandths, which is 1/8 inch. Now we'll turn on the bottle, and as always, open it slowly, stand off to the side, open it up. With any of the C25 gases, you always want to open the valve all the way and then turn on the purge. And you can then check your CFH, then shut it back off, and we are ready to weld. Let's go set up our table. Now, getting this layout perfect, guys, is pretty easy because we spent the time when we laid out this table to do it right and make sure that everything is 90 degrees to one another. If you haven't seen that video, I'll have a link up above. You can check it out. But this uses shoulder bolts, and what a shoulder bolt is that's a machined size. It's constant so that these fit down through these 5/8 drilled holes. So it's as simple as this, guys. Drop in your shoulder bolts, and then that's your stop. Your material rests right against that. Then we'll do the same thing over here. Then you just bump those two together. Now that makes a perfect 90-degree corner. Then we use our clamps that we made. These are just some modified Harbor Freight clamps that we've fabricated. And get our corners butted up over there and screw it down. Do the same thing over here. And there it is. Got a perfect 90-degree corner right here, guys. It's as simple as that. This corner is ready to weld. Alright, guys, now we're just going to start tacking everything together. This fabrication table that we just recently built has been a huge time saver. I really don't know what I've done without it all these years. That's how easy it is to set up this table, guys, to get perfect 90-degree corners. So all I'm doing is just welding the top, then I rotate it, then weld the top again, then rotate it and weld the top again until it's all done. And by the time we get to the other side, hopefully it's square. It ended up being out about 1/8 of an inch, but I'll show you a way how to get it straight again. So now I've got all 4 corners welded, but what happened is that I noticed that corner to corner, it was off about 1/8 of an inch, which isn't a big deal. I mean, it probably doesn't matter for this, but I wanted it perfect. So the way I was able to do that is I just took a strap. I'll show you. I just wrapped a strap around that side and then just used a clamp and then just squeezed it. So that what that did is that just racked this that way just a little bit. I only pulled it like 1/16 of an inch so that I could get it perfect. So now I've welded the inside of this and the inside of this, and it's absolutely perfect now without any tension on it. So now I'm going to go weld the inside there and there, and then we can do the rest. And then once we get everything all built, then we'll flip it over, then we'll just finish welding everything on the other side. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that's a way that you can kind of like rack a box if you're making a square to get it to be perfect. You can use a strap and a clamp. If this clamp was long enough, if it went from there to there, I could have just pulled it naturally, but I needed to use the strap. So this frame is now sitting and oriented on this table exactly like how you see that leaning up there. So now what we got to do is we got to put that cross piece into our frame right here. So that's roughly where that cross piece is going to go, but I think the most important part is we got to get that off, remove that, and then we'll let that determine where our cross member goes right here. We can just butt it right up into it. So let's go take that off right now. I'm going to use a diamond cutoff wheel to do that. These pieces actually are going to come off a lot easier than I thought. There's literally only a weld there, there, and then you flip it around over here, and there's just a little tack right there. Same thing on the other side. I'm not going to remove the barrel from this, so I'm going to leave that tack there. And then there's another one right here. We also have to save these too. We're going to be using those. I got an idea to get those out, but we got to cut that off. So before I got too crazy, I drew a diagram and then measured roughly from here to the edge of that. That's about 11 1/4. the one measurement, and it's the same on the other side, but the one thing that I wanted to make sure was perfect was this dimension between each other, there to there. So those have to be pretty consistent because they obviously fit into something else that's on the trailer. So here's that drawing right there that I did. There's the front, the back. That's roughly 11 1/4 from inside to the inside. And then as long as we keep this measurement between those barrels, 17 1/4, that should hitch right up perfect. And to cut those welds off, I'm using a disc from a company called Graph Black. And I'll have links down in the description. But yeah, this is a blade that can go either way. It's non-directional, so that makes it simple. So you can put it on. Some of these diamond blades are directional. They only go on one way. This, it doesn't matter. Put it on however, and you're good to go. So let's get to cutting.
I really like these diamond blades. I've been using them for a couple years. They don't jump around like other types because these have a continuous rim. So they're nice and smooth, and they last a long time. I'm real happy with them.
There. Then this will just set in there like that. And of course we still got to clean up all the, grind off all the old welds and get that other paint out of there. But yeah, once we get this attached, that kind of like helps locate where this needs to be. So that'll be perfect. Then, like I said, we'll be roughly 11 1/4 in from here. And we'll just make sure that that measurement inside to inside is perfect, so that whatever that fits on that trailer, you'll have to go back and look at that video, but in the beginning, however that fits down on there, that there won't be any alignment issues. So now I just got to cut off this one and do the same thing. So now I just got to clean up any of these welds and take off some of this paint and just get everything cleaned up so that we can be ready to weld it all up. And I'm just using a 120 grit flap disc from Empire Abrasives, and if you want some exclusive deals for first-time customers, click the link down below.
So if you're looking to buy abrasives and you want to save yourself some money, click the link below, use promo code Lund, and new customers are going to get 10% off their entire order. Who doesn't like saving money?
And because this part of the bracket is so much thinner than the tube we're welding to, I'm going to have to turn the welder down a little bit, but I've got it set right now for 11 1/4, and it's ready to weld. When we weld this, we'll have to turn it up a little bit, because you can see that's probably 1/4 inch thick, welding to 1/8, but we'll have to turn this down a little bit here because I don't want to end up burning through. This is almost like sheet metal. So I guess we'll set this maybe around, we'll try 70 thousandths and see how that does. Now we'll go do the same thing on the other side.
So now I'm welding the opposite side, which are those barrels, and you can just see how these clamps come in handy to clamp everything down. It's just a super handy fabrication table, and it was DIY, so it didn't cost a whole lot of money.
So I got these welded on, at least all I can do on this side, and I think I didn't turn the camera on, but there it is. I'm sorry, guys. So now we got two other things left. We've got this one, and we've got that one we got to weld on. That one's 8 inches up, so let's do that one next. 8 inches, and we'll do the same thing down here. So this lines up just like that.
You're probably kind of noticing a theme to my work. I kind of like to do all my cutting, get that out of the way, and then I try to do all my welding, or as much as I can, and get that out of the way, and then move on step by step.
There, now that's that. And all we got left to do is put on the other one. Then we will flip this thing over and weld out the other side, and we are just about done. Other than we got to get all these precision holes back. This is like a lock mechanism, so we got to get those in. We got to get those in, and there's a bunch of small screw holes that we're gonna have to drill and tap on the back side. Oh, and we still got to get this up too. Still got to do those, but those shouldn't be a big deal.
I've used a lot of welders in my life, guys, and I have to say that this welder is probably one of the smoothest welders I've ever used. And this one I'm using right now does MIG, TIG, and stick. It's pretty impressive. It's buttery smooth.
Alright, let's get this thing flipped over so we can weld the other side.
This is by far the smoothest and best welder I've probably ever used, but That's not to say that you need to go out and buy this welder as your first welder. It is fairly expensive. So if you're looking to get into this as a hobby or even maybe full-time, I recommend that you go out and find a budget welder and try it. Make sure it's something that you're interested in and that you're going to stick with it. And then if you decide that it is, then you can start investing in yourself and upgrading your tools like I've done here.
All right, guys, so we got everything fully welded on this. And I've gone through, so this is where the box basically sits on top. So any of those surfaces I've ground completely flush so that the box will fit on nice. Now we got to get all our holes in it, but I want to make sure that our holes are perfectly lined up so when that box gets set on top that there's no hole alignment issues. So what I've done is I've just put an indicator arrow on this facing up and front, okay? So I did the same thing so that this is oriented the same way, front and up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off these tubes, this tube here and this tube here, and just get them out of the way. Then I'm going to take this whole frame, then set it right on top of that, clamp it down, and then I'm literally going to drill right through the existing holes that are there so I know that everything has to line up perfectly. You know, because if this was off even just a little bit, those little tiny screws that are right here won't line up, and I'll show you how we're gonna get those to work too. I'm just gonna set this frame, the original, on top of the one we just built. Oh yeah. Just throw some clamps in the corners. Now this becomes super simple to line everything up. So now all I do is just literally put the drill right down through all these holes. Like these little holes here, I'll just take the screw out and literally drill all the way through it. So that's going to make the mark perfect into that. Same way there, same thing there. You know, all the way around, and it will be absolutely perfect. Then there's only a couple other adjustments we got to do. We're going to have to drill a hole through here for that lock mechanism. You can see how I've got it identified up in front, so everything lines up. So then we can just remove this, drop a straight edge down to get that hole. And then we still have to do these on the back. So I'm going to end up cutting these out, and then we'll weld these just like that on the back side into our new one.
And for these holes, I'm just using a 3/8 bit with a hand drill and some cutting fluid. And that way, that'll make sure that these holes are all lined up perfectly.
These holes here are elongated. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the mag drill with the chuck that will accept a drill bit rather than an annular cutter, and then that way I can drill this side of the hole, then drill the other side of the hole, and then that'll kind of make like a slot. You know what I'm saying? So let me go get the mag drill set up. Now this is one of the reasons that I built this setup, guys, was so that I could have a portable mag drill plus also have like a drill press. And this again is one of those little scenarios where I normally keep it here as a drill press, but every now and then I need to use it as portable. So I take off that little safety strap that holds it there, and then I just walk away with it. It's that easy. So here's a little workaround to get around that if you don't have enough material surface area to get a good contact hold for the magnet. And all I've done is just clamped a piece of flat bar to this. Now the whole magnet will sit on there. So we should be able to drill this pretty easy now.
So this is the first time I've ever tried to do an elongated hole this way, and I have to say I'll be doing them this way from now on.
So the back side of that slot is drilled. Now I'm going to move the base forward and drill the front side of it.
And if you check out that video of the mag drill press build that we did, the great thing about that is that the chuck goes below the lower plate, so you can actually run hole saws. I've used a 4-inch hole saw with it, and it works awesome.
So we got all the perimeter holes drilled. Now I'm going to drill these and locate these. And this is what holds down that little bucket or that basket. So what I've got is just a small drill bit. And I'm literally going to just put it down through all of it, and then it'll line up the hole perfectly. Then we'll have to just tap it real quick.
So you can see now that I'm kind of like grouping a bunch of various operations. I'm just kind of doing all my drilling and getting that out of the way. Now I'm just taking off this latch assembly so I can mark it out onto the new one, and then I can get that punched and then get that drilled through. I'm just trying to like do all the things like I said earlier, you know, do all my drilling at once, do all my cutting at once. For me, that's how my mind works. It makes organization better for me, and it keeps me a little bit more focused in the workshop.
So this is where we're at now, guys. I have found the center line of this. I guess this is like a threaded hole that secures the back doors on this little cart. So we do need to reuse this. So I found center line. I scribed it down to here. All I did is I just found center line using my square. And I think what we're going to do now is we're just going to get rid of this entire frame, and I'm just going to cut this section right out and then bring it over to our portable bandsaw stand and then trim it out nice and neat. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Guys, this is like the perfect tool for this. So what I'm going to do is just get them down to size, and I'm just going to nibble this away.
So here's another recent tool build we did, and I'll tell you, I absolutely love it.
So now I got a nice small piece that I can work on, and I can just precisely nibble this weld away with the bandsaw. So yeah, pretty simple.
This saw comes on and off this stand with 0 tools, so check out that video.
Yeah, almost got it. Look at that. It's almost out. A couple more trims. And there it is. I just got to go clean it up on the grinder. If you haven't seen this build, guys, check it out. That's a brake drum to a truck, and this column has sand filled inside of it. It really cuts down on the vibration and on the sound. There it is, guys, all cleaned up, ready to re-weld into that. I just got to do the other one, but you don't need to see me do it. Now I'm just going through, guys, tapping the holes and putting just a little bit of tapping compound on it. And I just got the tap spun up in a drill. Just makes it easier. One of the last things that we got to do is we got to get these drilled in and welded. And that's for, I guess, the back doors on this gate that open up and allow the leaves and lawn clippings to dump out. So I'm just going to use a step bit, drill it down through, and do both sides, and we'll weld it up. So I've got the holes all drilled through there. Now all we got to do is just install these and weld them up, and they go flush on this side. Then they just had a couple tacks on the other side, and that was that. So we're in the home run stages. We're almost done, guys. Let's get those welded up. One goes there, and another one goes right down there. Alright, now I'm just going to hit it with some hammered paint, black paint. This is the same paint that I used on the coat rack that we built, and I'll put a link to that up above. And here it is, guys, and I am super happy how this came out. I love the finish. I love this crinkle paint anyways. But then I put all these little plastic caps in, so that just kind of gives it a finished look. I replaced the rusted washers that were there. I use stainless washers, so it looks a little bit better. And yeah, this came out really nice. That welder does such a great job. I mean, look at those welds. They just look really nice. Everything came out really good. It looks factory, with the exception that the factory actually didn't build it this good. Had they used a little bit heavier material, he wouldn't have had to replace it. So I think this is going to work out really well for him. I don't foresee him having any issues in the future. Some of you guys asked me about what I do for lights in my workshop, and I mostly have LEDs. Now, the way I've done it is I have little fixtures up overhead that a normal light bulb would go into, but instead of putting in a regular light bulb, I put these in them. And I'll have a link to this down below, and what these are is they're adjustable heads. You can aim them anywhere you want. So that's what I really like using in the shop, because I can direct light everywhere. They just work awesome. Let me show you how bright these things are. See, then I can take and like shine one of them over there at my toolbox. I can put that one and shine it down at my welders. One here by the entry door, and then the other one facing back into the room. It just works awesome. It literally directs the light right where you need it. And that's all there is to it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're wondering what I'm working on before it makes it up to YouTube, you guys can catch me on Facebook and on Instagram. If you're wondering about any of the tools that you see me using, I'll have links down below. New videos every Friday, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next week, guys, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, see ya.